Florida Governor Ron DeSantis criticized King Charles for outlining his country's plan to introduce digital ID. DeSantis wrote on X, "Glad our founding fathers declared independence 250 years ago. Say no to the digital ID."
Now, this was in response to the King's speech, which was an address written by the government to outline its upcoming priorities, which doesn't necessarily reflect King Charles' own opinions. Let's take a listen.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services.
What say you?
Hey, did you hear me snort? This is something ridiculous about like watching an actual king in an actual crown and cape talking about
okay, listen, I have enough British friends that I understand.
Interest in the royal family is frankly so baffling.
But it just is something. So
the AI data centers in America have already become hugely unpopular. The noise pollution from their cooling systems reach up to 100 decibels and run nonstop. They are drawing down aquifers in areas that are already in short supply, turning the water brown and tainting it with a disinfectant smell. And there is no benefit to the local community. A U.S. Chamber of Commerce report found that each data center provides about 157 jobs. Because of all this, developers have been using non-disclosure agreements with local officials, and projects are announced only weeks before voting for approval. There are now nearly 200 active opposition groups across the United States, and it's growing fast. The official story is that the U.S. needs to stay competitive to beat China in an artificial intelligence arms race. But that story does not add up. The United States has already built over 4,000 data centers. China ranks at number 4 with 368. What they appear to be is the infrastructure for a new financial system, one that includes mass surveillance and autonomous weapon systems to protect it. The U.S. dollar system is quickly collapsing, which would devastate the entire world economy. The only solution being played out is the AI agentic economy, which requires a massive amount of computing power. This new AI agentic system will be run by autonomous software entities that can own wallets, earn and spend money, create contracts, and transact with each other without human intermediaries. This addresses the debt problem by growing the economy faster than the debt accumulates. Like the petrodollar, it extends U.S. dollar hegemony without fixing its core issue, the debt. The Bank for International Settlements is the bank for central banks. It is immune from any national law, and its employees have diplomatic immunity. It answers to no government on earth, and every central bank is a member. BRICS only appears to be in opposition to Western banking. It is not. BRICS is aligned with the rest of the world in adopting this new AI digital banking system. But a growing number of analysts agree that this is a temporary fix. After about 10 years, the consumption of resources, the displacement of human workers, and the massive transfer of wealth to the few who own these AI agents makes a fundamental restructuring unavoidable. And yet, the entire world is going along with this plan. The question is, why? As we covered in last week's video, the New World Order, the emerging unipolar world is preparing for a major geological event that is expected to be catastrophic for the United States. In the United States, data centers are being built inland and on elevated land, away from the coastlines. This is where all vital U.S. infrastructure is being moved, and is where billionaires are buying up acres by the millions.
Shalom, Kolayim La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahushai. I'm Sadwan, and Sedels with GMS, and I'm Siwakim. Peace and bless your brothers that listen to Church of the Firstborn, the hopeful elect. Kolayim La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahushai. And finally get time to do this video. See this dude, so-called King Charles, because you devils, you're not royalty, man. He mentioned the CBDC. Well, he mentioned the digital ID, right? He mentioned the digital ID. He came over here May 1st and visited Trump and other dignitaries on the Illuminati birthday, the 250th anniversary. And we see now these devils, they're saying the quiet part out loud. He talked about digital ID and his ministers to implement it. And we here, man. We here, man. You know, one or two or more events, and this is it. Because even in In fact, let me get Revelation, the 22nd chapter. We know that we spoke about the Genius Act already, with Trump passed, which I think that's going to be, next year, January 1st, 2027. That's dealing with the whole stable coins and the blockchains. It looks like the CBDC, but it's controlled by the private corporations, right? We did videos on this already. The rules are a little bit different, but fundamentally it's the same thing, man, right? Everything is going digital. And of course we know the whole digital ID, right? They said over there in England, you won't be able to work in 2029 unless you have digital ID. Okay, here we go, man. Everything. And guess what? Like we said before, you won't be able to access the internet or do anything unless you have a digital ID, man. Okay, they want the state to control everything. But let's get Revelation 22nd chapter. Like I said, I'm gonna do another video on this, deeper video. This all ties with the mark, man. This all ties with the mark. And we here. Let's read Revelation 22:10. It says, "And he said unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book." The Lord told, Revelation, the 22nd chapter. He said, seal not the sayings of this book. Okay, like opposite in Daniel, the 12th chapter, when Daniel was told to seal the understanding. Well, this is opposite, man. Right, because we know Yahweh Shai loosed the seals, or loosed the understanding. And he said, listen, don't seal the sayings of this book. Right? He said, and who's speaking to him? The angel. Right? He said, seal not the sayings. Who's speaking? The angel speaking to St. John the Revelator. He said, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. What time? Yahweh Shai making his imminent return. Right? The second coming, man. The time is at hand, man. Right? This whole beast system being set up, that's a major prophecy, man. Along with World War III, man. Now, like you say, you're going to be hearing this more and more often because this is it. Right? Let's get Philippians, the 3rd chapter. What did the Apostle Paul say? Something he said I want to highlight. Philippians 3:1. He said, finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. To write the same things to you, to me, indeed is not grievous, but for you it is safe. He said, listen, I have to write the same things unto you again, right? It's not grievous, but it's for your safety, it's for your benefit, right? Meaning he must have taught them this in person already, right? Because we know these are letters being sent out to the church. I already taught you guys this in person, but I have to send a letter to you to remind you of these things, man. Right? That's why the law was reiterated multiple times. Okay? Because we know Israel is a hard-headed, stiff-necked people. So the Most High always, and that's why we constantly go out there and we preach and we prophesy, man. Okay? And now the blood is totally off our hands, man. See, and like I was saying before, with this whole, he said he's going to send his ministers to do his bidding. And that's who these politicians are, man. They ain't no control shit, man. They all pawns and puppets, man. These presidents and prime ministers and these senators and governors and mayors, they all do the bidding of the bankers and the elite, man. That's why, let me read Proverbs, the 29th chapter. Let's get these precepts out to the Prophet Habashim Shah. See if I can show a video on the post-production. Let's read. Proverbs 29, verse 12. It says, if a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. All his servants are wicked. Right? They're all corrupt. Right? And they're doing his bidding. So they're going what? They're going to extend his wickedness, man. Through these laws, through these policies. The scripture says he transgresses by law. I think that's Psalms, the 94th chapter. Let me get that real quick. Psalms 94. I think it's 20. Yeah, he framed mischief by law. Let's read that. Psalms 94, verse 20. It says, the throne of the iniquity have fellowship with thee. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? So the scripture says he framed mischief by a law, right? These are unrighteous decrees. Okay, while people are distracted and all that, he's signing all sorts of legislation, man. Get rid of your constitutional rights. Okay. Get rid of the dollar. Right. Like we said, the whole stable coins, which that's more through the private corporations over there in the UK. Pretty much, like we said, this is all the beast system, which the beast system is Western Roman Empire. Okay. All over again. The image of the beast is speaking, man. Right. And like we said before, they're using this whole war, the Strait of Hormuz, to bankrupt the U.S., right? To mess up the global financial market, to bring in the new system, man. As you see, gas prices are high, right? Everything is going up. Inflation, hyperinflation. The job market is bad. Companies are going into that direction of AI, right? We're just seeing Spirit Airlines, 17,000 people one time. A lot of these tech companies laying off everybody, man. Okay. And like we said, this is the new system, man. Of course, like we in Revelation, the 13th chapter, the image of the beast, which you brothers and sisters, if you've been listening to Brothers Chan, apostles and elders on down, we always go into the image of the beast, which is the different ideologies of Rome. Right. Back then, we know was his how you call it, his political philosophy, right? His imperialism, right? You know, Rome had their bread and circuses, all those things, man. Okay. And like we said, Aisha, he was blessed with the sword. So to execute that image. Right? Let me get that second Ezra, the 11th chapter. Let's get that. Because we know Ezra's, and I'm going to jump back to Revelation 13. Ezra saw the beast as well, but he saw it as an eagle. Okay, let's read. Second Ezra chapter 11, verse 40. Right. And like we said, the image of the beast today, you know, is the same thing. Right. Tied with the democracy, tied with capitalism, tied with this liberalism. Right. This feminism, all of that. His LGBTQIA, and above all, his NWO, his Great Re. Right. Which ties with the mark of the beast, the CBDC, the digital ID, his AI. That's the new system, his technocracy. That's it, man. Okay. Trying to accomplish what Nimrod could not. That's why we always read Daniel the 8th chapter in Antiochus Epiphanes, where he said all should become one people. Aisha is doing the same thing with his technology, man. But let me read this first. 2 Ezra 11:40. He says, and the fourth came and overcame all the beasts. What fourth? This is going into the Roman Empire, the Greco-Roman Empire. Like we also talk about the Western Roman Empire. Okay. The 7 heads going along with the whore, which is the 8th head. Right. But the 4th was going into the Roman Empire. It overcame all the beasts that was before him. Right. It was superior in military might. Okay. But is more decadent as well. See. Right. It says, and overcame all the beasts that were past and had power over the world with great fearfulness and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. See? Scripture says wicked oppression, man. All right. There's a scripture I wanted to get. Is it Psalms the 10th chapter? Yep. Let me get Psalms the 10th chapter, man. Scripture says wicked oppression and with deceit. All right. And like we said, he's blessed with the sword. That's how Aisha rules. Let me read Psalms 10. I want to get back to Revelation, the 13th chapter real quick. So the digital ID, right? They're saying the quiet part out loud. Digital ID. And how's it going to look like? Okay, everything moving digital, man. And they saying it's for your safety and all that. That's to track and that's to control you, man. Just like they had a Minority Report, right? Everything was linked. Your biometrics was linked with everything. Scanning your eyes. We see today facial recognition, right? In that movie, they had thought crimes. You think of a crime, they can lock your ass up. But scripture says this. Psalms chapter 10, verse 1. It says, why standest afar off, O Yahweh Shem El Shai? Why hidest thou thyself in the times of trouble? The wicked in his pride. Who's the wicked? Aisha, right? He's the wicked. 2 Thessalonians, book of Malachi. He's the wicked. To persecute the poor, Israel, let him be taken in devices which you have imagined. These are his devices. Okay. For the wicked boasted of his heart's desire and blessed the covetous, whom Yahweh Shemel shall abhor. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts, man. Okay. See that? That scripture said, verse 7, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So all this is mischief and vanity, man. Right? He wants to oppress, terrorize the people. Right? He rules with deceit rather than justice, man. Right? You don't believe in no justice and equity. You don't believe in none of that shit, man. Okay, so let's get back to Revelation, the 13th chapter. Right? I didn't want to make this a long lesson. I just wanted to really highlight what's going on, man. Right? Revelation, the 13th chapter, which we know the dragon is Rome, and he came back as the beast. His deadly wound was healed. This is Revelation, the 13th chapter. Okay. The revival of Rome. And I went into the image already. Okay, and it says, he overcame the saints. Let me jump on down. The Revelation 13. Oh, let's read verse 12. It says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, Rome, and caused all the earth and them which dwell upon therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. Right? He came back into power. You can read that Revelation, the 20th chapter as well. Came out of the bottomless pit again, which is Europe. Okay, and he deceived, the scripture says he would deceive the world all the way up unto the war of Armageddon. All right, it says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven on the earth and the side of men. What he did to Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Like we said, because he's blessed with the sword. That scripture says, who can make war with the beast? Nobody. All right. He was created to take away peace from the earth. Of Revelation, the 6th chapter. The sword that Isaac blessed him with in Genesis, the 27th chapter. He's perfecting that sword. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. So the image of the beast is speaking right now, man. And it's going to tie to what? Like we going into, man, his great read. Okay. This whole surveillance, AI, digital ID, which you're going to need that to buy and sell, right? Which is the MOTB, the micro C-HIP, right? So that image is that what? Is that system, man. Okay. And you're going to have to make an alliance and allegiance to it. You're going to have, that's what it means to worship. Take part in that, right? It's not talking about, they and them, the Cesare Borgia, Christianity. That's not talking about that. So in order to buy and sell, you're going to have to be a Christian. No, man. That's not what that's talking about, man. Right? Let me read on. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Because why? He has the sword. That's what you're, all right? That because he was gifted with the sword and he's going to use his sword to implement that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many should not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And that's why he got all those AI data centers everywhere. Them shits is everywhere, man. And them shits is sucking up nothing but resources. I forgot how much like the massive amounts of water and electricity and energy you need to use to operate these data centers. The biggest one is going to be in Louisiana, and people in those surrounding towns are already complaining in 2030, man. And we know 6G is on the way as well. The same time period. Yo, this is it, man. This is it. Okay. And like we said before, if you're not down with this system that Aisha is bringing, he going to see you as a threat, man. Right? That's why he's talking about CBDCs, digital ID, facial recognition. Okay? If If you're not linked with that system, you're going to be seen as a threat. You're going to be an outsider, or they're going to cast you in the camp. Right? That second Ezra, the 16th chapter, that's Wisdom of Solomon in the second chapter. Because they know the prophet's not down with that. They'll say, so let's examine him with torture. This is coming, man. And when did they start really doing this? This was back in 2020. That was the whole C-19 was about, man. As we can see, people lost their jobs. You couldn't travel. You couldn't go to the stadium. Okay? You were barred from certain places. That was the test run, man. Now they're going to bring forth the full-fledged thing. And that was no different. Like we always used to compare that trial. We got through that to the Prophet al-Bashir al-Shah, to Nebuchadnezzar's image. You know, because he was big-headed. Because he supposedly had the baddest heathen kingdom. Not military might, but the splendor and the wonders of Babylon. They were the top, man. Right? And after Daniel broke down the vision to him in Daniel's second chapter, he got, big-headed. Right? And he created an idol of himself. See? And if you didn't, he required everybody to fall down and worship it. And if you didn't, you got thrown in that fiery furnace. But as we know the story, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, which represent the elect, refused to worship that statue, man. And trust in Yahweh Shem Shah. Right? And we know who was with them in the fire. Yahweh Shai, man. Okay, so the Lord said, listen, I'm gonna get you. I'm going to give you the spirit to resist in the hour of temptation. I'm going to pass you through the fire and you're going to be refined, man. We're not going to submit, right? We're not going to take the MOTB, the mark of the beast, man. We're not taking that, man. That's because we already broke that down already, man. Right? That incision, that pale stake, he's branding you. That means you belong to me. Because like we said before, he has a God complex. He wants to know everything about you. He wants your DNA. That was the whole point of the whole C-19, man. Right? And like we said now before, everything, your biometrics, scanning your eyes, your face, everything. Right? Tie you into that beast system. And the final is putting that C-hip in you, man. Right? But like we said before, this is it. These devils are speaking it. They saying it openly. They're no longer hiding it, man. All right. And, we're going to be put in some very trying times, crazy situations. But the Lord going to deliver us, man. Because we have that faith. We'll read one precept and I'm going to close this out. Psalms the 34th chapter. So like I said, I want to quickly report on this this devil talking about digital ID ministers. These devils, they're not playing. And like we said, they have all these data centers all over the place, man. That's why your electric bill is high as well. Okay? What you think that's for, man? That's to track every single thing that we're about to do. Okay? Let's read Psalms 34, verse 22. I'm going to read it and I'm going to close this out. It says, Yahweh Bashim Shah redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. None, man. Matter of fact, I had mentioned Nebuchadnezzar. What did even Nebuchadnezzar say, man? Okay, because the Lord delivered them. And what did he say? Daniel 3:17. I think it's 17. Daniel. It's Daniel 3, verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the power of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who have sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own power, man. So he said, yo, man, he sent his angel, who's that angel? That angel was Yahweh Shai. And he delivered his servants that trusted in him, man. They went against the king's word, man. And we going against the king's word. Who's the modern day king? Who's the modern day pharaoh? Who's the king of Babylon? Aisha, man. Right. And he's bringing that image. We see the image speaking now. Is AI. Okay. You have an actual idol that can talk to you. Right. So, yo, it's crazy, man. But like I say, Kolo Ima Yahweh Shem Shah, The host of this lesson was edifying. With that, I'd like to say shalom.